So my name is Swati Khanna. I'm the program manager at ILAN, and I'm also the staff liaison at the Inclusion Committee. The full form of ILAN is English Language Arts Network. It's a not-for-profit organization that connects, supports, and creates opportunities for Quebec English-speaking artists and art communities. It was set up in 2004, and our inclusion policy and the Inclusion Committee is absolutely a very important mandate of ILAN and the way ILAN works. Inclusion policy, it is still something which is a work in progress. We ensure inclusion and or EDI practices are followed in as many aspects of ILAN's internal and external workings. So I will talk about the external workings, which is the projects that we handle. We have projects that deal with education, with technology, with a sense of belonging of English-speaking community in Quebec. And all of these, we try to include the element of inclusion. How we do that is that we have a project where artists go into schools to teach kids through their art form. It's an alternate form of education. Inclusion is in the kind of the artists that we take on for the projects and the art forms that we take on. So it's quite varied and quite diverse in the kind of artists and their artist disciplines that are put out there. When we come to Artcast, originally it was an in-person event, but now it is online because of COVID. Again, there is a lot of diversity in the kind of artists that are made part of the project. And the diversity is again in terms of regions, in terms of their background, age, discipline, and all of that is done. We also have a project called Waves, where basically all the English-speaking communities talk about how they feel in Quebec. So that's also in a very artistic way, we are letting people talk about how they feel either included or excluded in the region of Quebec. So that's another project that we have. And we also had a project for seniors that it's also is inclusive because we are dealing with another different kind of age group, where we basically shot various episodes of content which were kind of discussed, and the seniors kind of chose the topics. We recorded those episodes, and then they were put on these iPads and distributed to the seniors. So what you will see is that through the projects, whether it is through age, discipline, artists, regions, we kind of cater to all kinds of people and all kinds of disciplines in the English artist community.
Hello, folks. My name is Kakim Go, and I am the co-chair of the Inclusion Committee at ILAN, the English Language Arts Network, Quebec. When I first joined ILAN, I'd taken over from the previous chair, Farah Fancy, who was instrumental in working together with the smaller committee back then to create the inclusion plan. And so when I took over as co-chair, we basically worked on the inclusion plan to expand on it and to really refine and finish the inclusion plan that had been started by Farah Fancy under her leadership. Since then, the Inclusion Committee has grown. It is now 9 members. And the wonderful thing about the Inclusion Committee is that it is much more diverse. It's, I think, a better reflection of who we are as Quebecers, as English-speaking Quebecers, in terms of the diversity of the members who come from many different backgrounds. In terms of the mandate, the Inclusion Committee is mandated by ILAN's board to promote and advance inclusion within the organization, its activities and projects. We generally meet about 5 times a year. Our 5 principal roles are really to ensure effective implementation of the ILAN inclusion policy, to identify and recommend the development of projects that address priority inclusion issues, to provide advocacy by representing ILAN at activities related to inclusion, to offer consultation and guidance to ILAN staff on matters related to inclusion, and to compile and share resources, experience, knowledge, and awareness of issues related to inclusion. The drafting of the inclusion policy was started in 2017. And I believe we came up with the kind of finalized version and published it back in 2018. And that being said, it is always a work in progress, meaning as time advances and as new issues come into place, we adapt to the changes, and in order to accommodate greater diversity, in order to become much more inclusive as an organization, and also to be much more inclusive and diverse in terms of the way that we accommodate our membership, who's been growing more and more diverse. Generally, we work on short and long-term goals. Short-term goals would include things like articles. We drafted articles in the wake of COVID, articles concerning anti-Asian racism. We also had an article that was written with regard to artists with disabilities during COVID and their practices. Also, some short-term goals are to iron out things like the use of pronouns, which is a fairly recent addition to our workplace and many workplaces. We also have long-term goals such as structural changes like HR, promoting greater diversity in staff and the hiring of our staff. We also have things like very elaborate Excel sheets, which help Elan doing the recruitment and hiring process to ensure that we're really being inclusive of different communities. In addition, we have implemented inclusion in projects, and I believe Swati spoke about that just earlier. So for example, we meet, or I should say, I've met with the project managers to discuss their respective projects and to ensure that there's an inclusion lens which is added to it. So we attend those. Also in terms of hiring, some of our members are active in the hiring of new team members to the Elan team. And we also try to make sure that there's representation of artists in all projects in terms of diversity. In addition, we are active in the ACH, which is the Arts, Culture and Heritage Working Group. And so in that vein, we're working towards an inclusion conference with that particular working group. With regards to inclusion committee, is that we have really extended it to be much more diverse, include Black committee members, Indigenous committee members. And so we will try to make sure that we've got that diversity, not just reflected in our members, but actually sitting at the tables and really lending their voices and being instrumental in terms of the direction of our organization.